The graph editor opens a lot of doors on the editability of our animations without having to change any of the keyframes inside of our animation. And we allows us to start to layer in new details that otherwise would have been very challenging and time consuming to both create and then edit. Remember our saying, mo keyframes, mo problems. I only want to try to have as few keyframes that are necessary to create the illusions that are inside of my scene. The graph editor opens those doors for us, allows us to work smart, not hard. Here's the challenge that I have in front of me, and the solution resides in a small little change to the function curves in the graph editor. I want to draw your attention to the selected paddle way on the right here. As my small center cube hits that leftmost paddle, this right one is already moving up as if it's anticipating perfectly where this small cube is eventually going to land. Now, if this was an organic player, and if you've ever played the game Pong, you kind of didn't know where the small cube was going to bounce until it bounced. So I don't want to have this fella over here on the right really be moving way to the top of the screen until after this little bounce. Now, I don't need to go in and rekey it, but maybe making a small change to the function curves will give me the illusion that I'm after. Because not only do I want it to delay its movement, I want to make it that upward kind of feel like a jump, like as if there's some a player that's going, oh my goodness, I need to have it go up and block that cube to bounce it back towards the left again. Well, we can do that with the graph editor. So I've selected my object, and we're going to work with the location Z channel inside the right paddle. And I'm going to use my viewport navigation commands to zoom in vertically so I can see more detail on the values, which is going to make the curve much more pronounced. So I'm going to drag up, Control Shift, and then drag upwards with my left mouse button to see a little bit more of the curvature of the shape itself. Now, if you look at the curve, it makes sense, right? Here's the initial starting location of the object. As we go through the animation, it slowly leaves the train station and then slowly gets up. Well, I don't want that. I want it to kind of shoot up and then maybe hit a ceiling and come back down again. We can do that with the graph editor. Okay, so I'm going to turn off location X, and I'm going to grab that first keyframe. I want to change the initial slope of that first keyframe. I don't want it to be evenly kind of traveling up and down. I want it to stay kind of static and then kind of shoot up at the last possible moment. And we can do that by scaling up this tangent handle. We're not going to change the keyframe. That's where it is, right? That's what we want to happen when we want to happen. Now we just need to figure out the spacing, how fast we're going to transition between these keyframes. Spacing is all about speed. So check this action out. I'm going to grab that tangent handle. I'm going to hit the G key to move it around, okay? But I'm going to constrain it only along the horizontal axis with the X key. So G for grab, X to constrain it along the horizontal axis. And now when I left click and drag, you can see what happens to my slope. It's only changing the location of that handle horizontally along the graph. Now, something out like that, that's pretty cool. Let's see what the animation looks like now. We've made a change. Let's play it. Yeah, see how it's like slowly, I'm looking at this object part of my animation. Now it's like slow, slow, slow. And then after the bounce, it goes, oh, I need to get up there and get it. Okay, that's pretty cool. Makes it feel a little bit more organic. It makes it feel like there are natural increases and decreases to the speeds of all the movements that we're trying to craft. In my imagination, animation is a lot like a roller coaster. There's parts where we want it to be nice and slow, but then we want to have fast parts as we go down the hills and around the corners. And maybe we have an extreme part where it's going really fast through a loop. These changes in speed create contrast and visual interests. It's one of the principles of animations that we're trying to overlay in all of our work. Things don't move at a consistent speed. There are fast movements, and then there are slow movements. And if we put fast and slow next to each other, we create this really dynamic movement that catches our audience's attention and makes our objects feel like they've come to life. Let's do it one more time. Changing the speed is super easy. I like to do it one at a time. So let's look at the animation. So then it goes fast. Oh, then it goes, oh yeah, check it out. I'm still focusing my energy here. Watch the movement on the back half after that first initial bounce. So it's going, bounce, and then watch it. And then it kind of goes, bleh, just uniformly down. It just kind of floats down. Perhaps we have the exact same illusion that we had the first time, where it goes slow, then bounces up, and then slow, then bounces down. That's a cool idea. Let's see if we can do that real fast by changing the slope of the function curves on all of our keyframes. All right, so this is the keyframe that's responsible for determining the bottom bounce of our rightmost paddle itself. And let's see if we can change our graph editor to get what we're after. Yeah, okay. So if we look at our graph, this one up at the top is okay. So we got a quick up, and then I want it to be kind of slow up there at the top, and then really fast down here at the bottom. Remember the rule with the graph editor. If the curve itself is more vertical, it's going fast, like a roller coaster. If the curve is real flat, it's going slow. Up and down, fast, horizontal, slow. I want it to be nice and, let's see. I want it to be nice and fast, kind of down in this area. So I'm going to change the rotation to maybe something like this. Oh, I think in this moment, I want the opposite direction. What if I rotated it back and I had, by rotating it down, yeah, I didn't change the slope enough by rotating it down. So let's try this. Let's scale it up. Oh, there we go. Because now, look, that slope really changed. Now it's very horizontal, very vertical in the middle, horizontal towards the keyframe itself. Let's just see what that gets us. Yeah, I might have done it a little too much. See how it gets down there before? Now, in the context of the animation, does that work? I don't know. Let's find out. Play it. It bounces. Yeah, it happens too fast now. It moves down towards the bottom too soon, as if it's anticipating. It shouldn't really start to move until this moment in time. Well, I really like that sense of speed, so maybe up here, we increase the slope by scaling it that way some. We didn't have to increase the bottom one. We increased the slope at the top. And let's just see what that gets us. Bonk. Yeah, that's not too bad. Some small little changes here. Now, what I'm looking at is that the cube bounces. It hits this paddle. Now, it really shouldn't start moving downwards until right about here. So I'm going to increase that weight by scaling out that top handle just a little bit more. Yep, I might even go more with it. Oh yeah, not bad. Now there's a zillion fine-tuned things in here that we can do to make it work a little bit better. That's the cool thing about the graph editor, is that we don't have to rekey everything. We just need to go in and change the angle of these tangent handles, and then the weight of the tangent handles. The slope, okay, that's the angle, and then the weight, how big or small they are. That's going to increase and decrease the size of the arcs, if you will, and changes the speed in which we're interpolating. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. It's starting to work really well for me. And that's how we change the speed, by changing the slope of all of the function curves. Sometimes we want very angular movements like we had with the small cube, but other times we want to continue to have it be arced movements, but just changing the speed. If everything is a uniform speed, it feels very robotic, very flat, very computer made. We get into that organic sense of movement by having things be slow and then fast, and then slow and then fast. It feels much more alive in how objects actually move out there in the real world. Experiment around with this change in speed. It's going to make your animations come to life almost instantly.